Hello and welcome to the RBC Lunch and Learn series presented by the J. Herbert Smith Center. I'm your host, Jade, and I'm so excited for all of you to join us today. Today's guest is Curtis Kennedy. Curtis is an alumnus of our Summer Institute program where he started Vertiball based on his experience with personal injuries. He recently pitched on Dragon's Den and secured an amazing deal. So join us for this conversation where we'll be discussing his story and some of the lessons that you can learn for your own businesses. A little bit more about Curtis. Curtis started working on inventions at the age of 7 and filed his first patent application at the age of 19. He is passionate about first principle design thinking and is able and its ability to result in meaningful innovation. He has completed his master's in technology management from the University of New Brunswick and is pursuing mechanical engineering from UNB as a part-time student. In his third year of studies, he started developing a personal muscle care device that came to be known as Vertiball. Curtis used the UNB Makerspace to make hundreds of prototypes before finalizing the products designed for mass manufacturing. In the 16 months since its launch, Vertiball has done over $2.5 million in sales. Curtis's achievements included Tingley-McGovern Award in Entrepreneurship, winner of the NBEX Business Plan Competition, winner of the Apex Business Plan Competition, and the winner of Canada's Business Model Competition 2018. He was also a semi-finalist at the International Business Model Competition and UNB Technology Management and Entrepreneurship's Student Leadership Award in 2018. So I'm going to bring Curtis onto the stream right now. Hello, Curtis. It's great to see you, man.
Hey, Jade. Thanks a lot for the introduction. Really great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done a little bit of an intro, but please tell us a little bit more about yourself that isn't just me spouting off whatever I've read in front of me.
I'm kind of a weird guy for the most part. Love hanging out with friends, which I'm not getting to do a lot of lately, which is too bad. But I think everyone's feeling the same pain. My grandfather was a mechanical engineer. He had some inventions of his own that ended up being relatively impactful in their own way, and he got me into thinking about design and engineering right from an early age. So I decided to take on the tall task of trying to get my mechanical engineering degree, and halfway through that, I decided to start a business. And luckily enough, I was at UNB, which is what I would consider one of the most entrepreneurial schools in the world, and had a lot of great support from you and all the people down there at TME and all around the head hall building. And it's been going really good so far.
Awesome. So you've got a bit of a presentation for us today, I believe, to talk a little bit more about your story. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I put together a little bit of a slide deck just to kind of take you through the process of how I went about pulling together the financing, the manufacturing, the product development, where we're headed and what we're trying to do. And I'll talk a little bit about the Dragon's Den experience in case any viewers are interested in pursuing that opportunity at some point in time as well.
Awesome. So if you want to get your presentation queued up, and just a quick question for yourself, do you mind if anyone has questions for you throughout your presentation today or any of that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. If you have any questions, stop me, because I'd love to have a discussion if we can.
Okay.
If on any of the material, if you have any questions, just throw it in and cut me off, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I'll just make sure everyone out there watching is aware, and I'll put it in the comments that if you have any questions for Curtis, please feel free to put them in the comments, and we'll make sure to get to them as soon as we can. We will be sure to get to them. Sorry, I'm talking out loud there. So yeah, are you ready to bring your screen up, or
ready to go? Yeah, I'll hit the share button now.
Okay.
Or stop screen. Do you have it there now, or?
I do, so I'll just bring it up if you're ready there.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
How does that look? Is it looking okay on your end?
Looks great. I'll just turn this off real quick just so we can see it.
Okay.
Better.
Cool.
There we
So,
go.
So everybody, this is Vertiball. It's a muscle care device that uses this industrial grade suction cup to lock onto the wall. So it makes targeting and relieving tense muscle pain and hard to reach areas of your back easier than ever before. So basically, it's fixed in one position, and then your body can move relative to it rather than you trying to move a device around and twist and reach to try to target your areas of discomfort. So really just makes your back accessible in a way like never before. So in our first year, we've got some great endorsements. We've got a few guys in the NFL using the product and loving it. And we even have a former UFC world champion. So it's been interesting to see this thing that was just an idea and a concept in my mind actually be used by people, and they really enjoy it. So it's made the whole process really worth it from the way things have gone so far. So this is how it all started. Humble beginnings. My first year university, I failed first year physics, which automatically turns your degree from a 4-year into a 5-year plan. Which at the time I was pretty bummed about, but I realized that it creates a lot of new opportunity, especially being at the University of New Brunswick, it being such an entrepreneurial university. And I really thought to myself, I figured that there'd probably be no better time to try to take a crack at starting a business. And I thought for two reasons. One was because, you're surrounded by so many smart people all the time who are always willing to help you and share their insights. So if you ever run into any questions or challenges with the project you're working on, you have people to help you. And secondly, it was 4 years of time where I wasn't necessarily expected to have a full-time job with a salary. My parents were helping support me financially, and the expectation was that I go do my studies, and then nothing else mattered beyond that. So, if I were to start a business through this period of time, that likely would be a great opportunity, because you don't have to risk all that time post university where I could be, having a good job and making a good salary. So collectively, those two ideas made me want to start a business. So I thought, what problem should I solve? And most importantly, what problems do I have myself? Because I think that the best possible solutions come from, your biggest personal problems. What are the things you can think about that really, really affect your daily life? And for me, it's always been back and muscle pain. I've been rolling around on a golf ball on the ground for as long as I can remember. And for one of the world's most common health problems, back pain, it's very hard to believe that was the best that you could do. So I got thinking about, what are the key things associated with getting the business off the ground? What are the core things that I have to focus on? And I boiled it down to three really distinct segments, which all are very intertwined when it comes down to it. So that's product design, manufacturing, and financing. And this changes a little bit if you're doing a software business, but still the development work and actually putting a product together, there's a lot of similarities that can be drawn in terms of how to break out the pricing structure and what your costs are going to be. So since all these things have interdependencies, it's important that you start on all of them, because they all depend on one another. So this is the first version of the product. I used the Makerspace at the university to print it off and tested it, and it wasn't super functional, but it was just functional enough to keep me going on the path and wanting to design more products. So I took that first version of the product and I went and got a quote from a manufacturer overseas to try to get a sense of what the tooling costs were going to be associated with creating plastic injection molds, what the unit cost was going to look like. In doing that, it gave me a sense of, is this going to be a feasible opportunity from a cost perspective? Because you really have to always continuously think, what are people willing to pay for this idea that you have, and what is it going to cost me to make? And if you can't at some point justify that, or if there isn't a sizable business opportunity that remains within the margin that you can get from this product, then you might have to revise your idea or concept or approach to doing it. So then the third aspect of that is financing. Once you understand your costs a little bit more, then you can bundle together all the ways you're going to need to spend money to get this business off the ground. And the thing here is it's always better to assume that you're going to spend more money than you actually would, because things take more time and things cost a lot more when you get going into it, and when you make mistakes and when you don't really know what you're doing out of the gate. So the reason I wanted to say all this is because it really comes down to this concept of you needing to remain dynamic when you're starting a business. You can't be set on this first idea that you had as, the product's got to have this configuration, it's got to look like this, it's got to cost this. You really have to go with the flow of the product design, what the resulting manufacturing quotes are telling you, and what financing it's going to take to get that all off the ground. And you have to balance these three things and make design changes based off of pricing and also if you got to manufacture somewhere else or import costs from somewhere else. It's all things that you should be considering right from the start.
Awesome. So Curtis, not to throw you off, but we do have a comment here on YouTube that says, how does this change if we have a software hardware combination for our product?
Well, I would say that that's really great that you have a software hardware product. If you can incorporate software into anything, it's a good thing to do, because even though if there is a hardware element to it, software is scalable. Where just a hardware product without any added value, like if you can create a service that's or some sort of system that upgrades in your product. A great example of it is like Peloton. Peloton's an at-home workout bike, and what they did differently opposed to all the other workout bikes that have ever existed at home is they had this big screen where you connect and you could do these at-home workout courses, which they're currently valued at $38 billion in the New York Stock Exchange. So first off, I think it's awesome that you're trying to incorporate some software element into your product. But in terms of the understanding your costs, really think about what you're going to need in terms of hardware. I would say just get a solid draft down of a version 1 concept of this product, and whether you're going to need a digital display, you're going to need a circuit board, whatever it is. Think about all the components that you're going to need, and they may change with time, but just have a starting point for all those costs, and then go out to manufacturers, whether it's overseas or domestically, and try to get quotes on each of those components. And once you bundle those quotes up into one, and you have relatively plus or minus 15% unit cost of what your product will actually be, then you can think about how much are we going to have to put into development work on the software side of things, and is this going to be justifiable long term with their model, plugging in and thinking about the investment that's going to be required. If you have other questions on that, definitely follow up, and we'll circle back on it.
Awesome. Thank you, Curtis.
No problem. So yeah, this was version 1 of the product, and I figured we're probably at the 80% mark. This thing's great. But things change with time, and as you go out and you test your product with users, and that's something really important to mention is whatever you're doing, whether it's an app or a product or a service, you should be going out and talking with people that are going to be your customers, see what they like and don't like, see the wrong way they hold it, the right way they hold it, what they what they would like to be different about it, and listen to that and make changes based on their feedback, because it's very easy to get stuck in a cycle of thinking that, what you've originally come up with is what people want. So this was version 1, and this ended up being version 220. So after, talking with hundreds of people, getting people to use all the different 3D printed versions, there was a lot of changes that had to be made. And furthermore, beyond just the functionality for the customer, we changed the functionality for our business as well. We had originally designed the product to just be a singular stationary unit, nothing more to it than that. But we ultimately decided that we wanted to design it to have the capabilities to accommodate interchangeable attachments, so that we could design a range of products that would all go onto the same mounting system moving forward.
So, Curtis, I think this really works well with another comment that we have here, which says, how did you find the response rate when reaching out to manufacturers, and also protect yourself in terms of IP?
Right. So that was something I was really worried about out of the gate, and I think any young inventor is first thing that is on the top of their mind is, you don't want to get your idea stolen from a manufacturer overseas. And I had a lot of those concerns, and still some level of concern in specific projects we're working on today. But at the end of the day, if the product that you're working on now doesn't exist, a company overseas likely isn't going to make it unless there's the product segment that exists already. Manufacturers overseas, they make money from manufacturing products, not from marketing them. So, there has to be a market that either you've established for these products, or that someone else is establishing at the same time, for them to find it justifiable to rip you off, invest in, plastic injection molds to try to scale it outwards into the, North American, European market. So, you can protect yourself by once you get working with a manufacturer to get into manufacturing agreements and non-disclosure agreements. I would always recommend, once you actually start getting into the nitty-gritty of working with a manufacturer. But I had a lot of concerns with that out of the gate, and it really hasn't been as much of a big deal as I had originally thought it would be. So going about getting quotes with manufacturers, my biggest experience from doing so has come from trying to work with manufacturers in China. So the way I would go about doing it is I would go on Alibaba, and for each of the components that I wanted, say I wanted a spring, a certain type of spring, I would search, X spring into Alibaba. I would have, there'd be thousands of manufacturers come up, and I'd click through them, and I'd evaluate each manufacturer based off of a few things. So I'd pick the top looking products that visually looked good and the factory looked good, and they also had good pricing for the order quantities that were stated online. And from there, I'd send out a RFQ, which is known as a request for quote document, where essentially you just state, "Hi, my name is John. I'm looking to order, this product from you guys. Could you give me a quote for 5,000 units, 10,000 units, and 15,000 units?" And that's a really important thing to do, is to request the pricing at different volumes for two reasons. Because one, they want to see that you're a customer that is going to grow, because they don't want to work with low order volumes. So that gets them excited if you're stating a higher order volume. And secondly, you want to see how their volume pricing discounts work. You want to see that this is a manufacturer that can operate at a scale where their cost actually can be reduced significantly as the order volumes go up. So in deciding manufacturers over in China, I'd really evaluate it on three things. It was have a good cost, have a good product, and always request a sample before fully engaging with the manufacturer. And thirdly, I would always, this would be most heavily weighted on my end, was who could speak English the best, because working over there, if you don't speak the language, it can be very challenging and frustrating sometimes, especially when if you're working the Canada workday and you only have 2 hours to stay up at night to catch the back end of the China workday. You want to make sure that the communication is well received and that it's fluid. So I would really prioritize finding a supplier that you can speak well with and that has a good sample product. So if you got more questions on that afterwards, just let me know. So yeah, we had originally planned to do manufacturing in New Brunswick, and we were all set to do it, but then I really got down to the nitty-gritty of evaluating costs and looking into importing specific components from China, because there were some components we needed that weren't made domestically. So we had to import them from China anyways, just to then do the plastic injection molding and assembly in Canada. And the problem is that some of those components, as individually shipped, had tariffs associated with them. But if the product was assembled as a fully complete packaged good over in China, we didn't have any tariffs. So there's certain things like that you should watch out for. And it really, when it got down to it, it's pretty crazy, but it was going to save us $9 a unit to manufacture it over there. So I know the tendency for a lot of people is to want to try to stay in Canada, do manufacturing here, for the economy and furthermore for the comfort of having it close by and people that you can communicate with really easily. But at the end of the day, it is so important to get your costs down as low as possible when you're starting out. You don't have control over a lot once you've designed and made a product. How the market's going to respond to it and how it's going to sell, but you can control your margins out of the gate. And that's one thing I would really stress hard to everyone is to really think about how they can save money on building this product, and ultimately it'll make your business better. It'll give you the ability to make new products and give new product offerings to your customer, and ultimately be a more valued company to you and to everyone that you work with. So the manufacturing changed, and like I said, it's important to remain dynamic. And the other side of things was financing. Originally, I estimated I'd need around $70,000 to start the business, and the actual amount of financing I needed was $400,000. So it was pretty crazy shock to me once I figured that out. I worked with a consulting company to help me figure out some of my financial challenges, and they helped me come up with the fact that I needed a lot more money than I thought I did. So the way I went about it, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs here locally are taking a similar approach, is they're getting into these pitch competitions. So I had a lot of success when I did the pitch competitions. I think in total, I did the circuit. I did the Canada Business Model Competition, the international one, Apex at UNB, and also NBEX, which was hosted in Fredericton as well. And over the course of the year, I pulled together, it was around $40,000 of prize money. So I then used this prize money. I went to different financial institutions like Business Development Canada, Atlantic Canadian Opportunities Agency, Futurepreneur, Ignite Fredericton, Opportunities Brunswick, and use that cash that I had got as leverage to then pull together these projects with these different organizations to round up around $370,000 in debt/grant funding, which helped me to get the business off the ground and get our first 5,500 unit order out of the door.
Curtis, I've got another question here, if you don't mind. It says, and this one's from Xavier, it says, when do you suggest consulting or advisors, and how do you vet them?
That's a good question, because one thing that you got to be really concerned with is when your new opportunity, especially Fredericton's a relatively small pool in comparison to, say, Toronto or San Francisco. Any new opportunity is an opportunity for people that work in consulting, and it can be very hit or miss. We've worked with people that have created no value whatsoever, and we've worked with people that have promised us the moon and didn't even make it a foot off the ground. So that's very difficult. I would say the best thing you can do is always call references. I remember we had this project going on, and we were going to work with this big firm, and they put together a list of really great references, and I called them all, and there was so much insight that I got from that. They gave me the inside outs of how their business works, and even though they're on their side acting as references, I got to learn a lot about the questions I should be asking and the way I should be thinking about the opportunity. So I'd say be careful with consulting. If there's consultants, like for example, Laura Oblinus and Stiletto Consulting, they're really great for entrepreneurs here in the New Brunswick area, helping them pull together funding and stacking funds with government and BDC funding. They helped us in a big way, and it was invaluable for us. And so I think it can be really hit or miss. Just make sure you get some references and you vet the people that you're thinking about working with, because at the end of the day, that's the minimum you can do. So you might as well make some calls there. So we after the pitch competitions, I did a Kickstarter, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who have considered doing a Kickstarter before. It was very challenging, very, very challenging. You got to think about it. It's difficult enough to do advertising to your website and get it converting at a rate that is profitable. So digital ads are really tricky. It's you got to get the right ad copy. You got to get the right images. You got to really hit the nail on the head. But then the complexity that Kickstarter adds to it is, you come to this page where there's all these different reward tiers, and a lot of people get confused by it. And furthermore, then there's delivering a delivery in 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is. So there's just that much more of a disincentive associated with buying. It's not to say that things can't do really well through Kickstarter. We've worked with people that have done $1 million Kickstarters and pulled together a decent level of profitability from it. But our experience through Kickstarter, it was awesome for getting us off the ground and getting some brand exposure. And furthermore, the final piece of customer validation we needed to really sink our teeth into this and know that it was something that people wanted. But from a profitability perspective, we worked with a marketing firm that took a large percentage of our revenue, because they were the ones putting in the ad spend. And so at the end of it all, we were profitable, but not by much. So if you're gonna consider doing Kickstarter, you really gotta think it through. And the most important thing is that first day, when you get all your friends and family to get on, invest, and then that bumps you up in the trending page, and that's really where you can see some profitable purchases come from. It's when you get on that page and there's millions of viewers passing your listing every day, and you're not paying for them to get there through ads via social media. So it is doable, but very challenging and a very complex science.
Curtis, can I get to you again? We just got a flurry of questions that came through, if you don't mind. There are They're actually about distribution and quality management as well. So let's talk about the quality management one first, just real quick, just because it seems like you're about to go on a conversation here about getting some products from China. So the first question I have here is, how do you ensure quality in every finished product from the manufacturer?
Okay, well, that is a great question. So here, this slide. This is a couple pictures. I was very last minute over to China last year. Like it was like one day I was dead set. We were making products in Canada. I had already sent over, a lot of our components to the manufacturer we're going to work with. And then it was like in a split second, it was like, oh no, like this doesn't make sense if it's going to cost, this much less. So I hopped on a plane, not really knowing what I was doing at all, and headed out there. And anyway, over the next 3 months, I took 4 trips over there, and it was pretty cool. And thankfully, UNB and the TME department supported me with those trips, and the travel fund that they have going there. That was a lifesaver. I don't even know what I'd be doing if you guys didn't help me out there. But it's working overseas is a very it's a very different environment. But what I will say is they are the best in the world at what they do. And if you can, it's pretty stressful out of the gate, but if you can make it work, it's a great thing to do. So just as the pictures you see here, a Buzz Lightyear here on the right, it's a great story of it's all about who you know. So my professor at university introduced me to a friend of his that then introduced me to his manufacturer in China. That manufacturer ended up being one of 6 Disney manufacturers globally. So it's crazy. I went down there. It was 3,500 people working in the factory, like state-of-the-art stuff everywhere, and Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story stuff flying everywhere. So it was pretty neat. And then there's Vertiball, small little assembly line to the left. And to go on your point of quality, I think it's really, really essential for you to be there for the first production run, or have a representative that's over there that understands the dimensional constraints and accuracies needed for your product's functionality. So we had a situation where our product really depends on the materials composition, the type of plastic we use. If we use a different type of plastic, or if the material properties are off by a little bit, the whole thing doesn't work. So I went over there for the first manufacturing run. I got there in the morning, and they already had about 2,500 units done. And I went and checked some out, and I noticed that the latch wasn't snapping back up and down. So I don't know if you guys can see me, but this latch is supposed to pop back up and down, and it snaps in front of the attachment like that. And it wasn't popping up and down. And I mentioned something to one of the workers. And again, this is where you got to be really careful with communication. But one of the workers went ahead and made the decision that they were going to put sewing oil, like sewing machine oil, on the latch of the product. They were going to squirt it in onto the latch so it would be slippery and slide and pop up and down. And you couldn't imagine the feeling that it was like 2,500 units that go on people's household walls just got doused in sewing machine oil. It was definitely the closest I've ever been to a stroke. But I went straight to, so I spent 8 hours on the assembly line that day. I went through every product. I had one other person with me that we worked together the whole day, and we took alcohol and we wiped down every product, and I made sure that there wasn't one of them that got out with any little bit of oil on it. And that is just an example of how things can go wrong. But That's why I think it's important that you're really, really on top of it out of the gate. You make a quality control plan. If you're working with a good manufacturer and you have good communication, they will do everything in their power to follow it as closely as possible. And you can also hire a quality assurance representative, like an external company, to come in and check all the orders for you. So every order we place now, we always have a company come in and do quality inspection, and that that keeps our manufacturing company, in the game and making sure that they're doing what they need to do. But beyond that, I think just either making sure that you have samples from the first production run or you're there. Very, very important step, because you got to picture what would have happened in my situation had 5,500 units rolled out the door. It was just sewing machine oil all over them. So the first 5,500 units of Vertiball arrived at our warehouse. Some of them came to my parents' garage in September 2019. It was a pretty cool day. 23 years old, but felt like I was going on 65. Takes some years out of you doing this stuff. For a lot of the time I was doing my education at the same time, and that's a really tough thing to juggle. So if you are doing something like that and you're doing your degree at the same time, maybe think about co-founders, because your brain can only stretch so far.
So, Curtis, I think that actually lends itself really nicely to some of these other questions here. So I just want to bring them up real quick.
Yep.
Congrats on your success. I've also created a product sold retail and online. Sales are coming primarily from Atlantic Canada. What are your suggestions or tips on how to expand? Reps and distributors help! ! It says. And then there's another one here that I think works really well with this, where it says, where are you currently selling your products? Are you thinking of exporting beyond the United States? So I think there's a lot of good questions here about, sales and distribution and, expanding your market share as well.
Yeah. So it's a really good question. It's one that we're learning more and more about every day. I think e-commerce as an early stage business is such a great opportunity just to get off the ground running. Traditionally, 20 years ago, if you made a new product, you'd have to physically go to retailers and get your product listed on their shelves, and you'd have to sell at wholesale pricing. And what's great about that is there is this reoccurring revenue stream that gets built up over time, and there's no marketing budget that's put in by you. And gradually you just build up this customer list over time, but it takes a while. And especially right now with COVID and everything that's going on in the world, we've seen a drastic slow to the rate at which product like Walmart's or Target's or Best Buy's are actually taking in new products, because everyone's really focusing right now on what is the most important life or death thing to do. Do we need to get a new product segment in, or do we need to focus on maximizing the sell-through rate of the existing product categories that we have? So the rate of adoption for new products into physical retail stores is slowing down a bit. So we've put a lot of focus on e-commerce, and e-commerce is so awesome because basically, you've got your unit cost, transportation, insurance, docking fees, all that landed at your logistics warehouse. That represents your cost of goods sold. So whatever your selling price is less your cost of goods sold, that number is your business. Like, that's what you have to work with. That's the money that's going to pay all of your employees. That's the money that's going to satisfy all of your marketing budget. So that's, again, why I say it's so important to focus on, getting down your unit cost and making a high value product to customers out of the gate. To expand to new markets, right? So right now we probably do 95% of our sales in the United States, and it's just basically off of us simplifying logistics from the limited order quantities that we do. Right now, we're ordering between 20 and 30,000 products every order. And so we split that up into a few warehouses in the United States, and then we've actually started storing products in Canada now. So we've scaled up our Canadian sales. But really, if you have a product that can be sold online and you can create ads that can convert, which means you can spend a reasonable amount of budget where people are going to click the buy button, and you have a profitable return on ad spend, then your ability to scale through e-commerce is unbelievable. Our problem right now isn't that there isn't the demand for our product. It's that we don't have enough money to buy more inventory to support the growth that we could have. So that's the challenging thing with the consumer product business, is you always need to have money for marketing, and then you need to have the money to reinvest into inventory, and you always want to be growing your order quantities every time. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're operating at a range of profitability that will allow you to do that. So really, scaling your product through e-commerce. Find a third-party logistics company. So we ship our products into a port in California, and we store the bulk of our products with a company called Shipmonk. It's known as a 3PL, or a third-party logistics, and essentially all orders from all of our product vendors like Target.com, BestBuy.com, Vertiball, Amazon, wherever. If an order is placed, it goes right to our dashboard with this company Shipmonk, and they send it out. We never touch the product, and they just deal with the whole thing. And as a small company getting out of the gate, I would highly recommend you to try to outsource all that work if possible, because just being hands off on that side of things, if your numbers can justify it, is really beneficial. I'm not sure exactly if I answered your question, but if I didn't, please follow up, and we'll try to get back to it towards the end. Yeah, so it's been going good. We're this is like our 16th month in sales. We've done around 2.6 million Canadian. It's been a really, really interesting ride. But what the coolest part for me is like, just had this idea in my head, had no idea how people are going to respond to it. It's really scary bringing something new into the world, and you have to teach people how it works, and you have to teach people the limitations and what it can and can't do. And it's very nerve-wracking, but over the course of the year, we've managed to maintain a 4.4 out of 5 star review on Amazon, which is something that brings my soul a lot of joy. So it's been good, and the future is going to be exciting. So what's next for us? We've got some things that we're working on. So we designed the product to accommodate a wide variety of different attachments. And if you're thinking about coming up with a product, that's something I urge you to consider, is how can you extend the product's life cycle beyond just its first iteration. So this is the biggest pivot we took for our design approach, is we made it that it could accommodate a whole bunch of different attachments. So that's what we're doing now. The product that we currently sell, it's this configuration, and we call it the Vertiball standard package. But in a few months here, we'll be coming out with our second product, which is, we haven't totally landed on a name yet. We think we're going to call it Vertiball Revolve, but I'm not certain if any of you guys got any cool creative names. Let me know. And then furthermore, we're coming up with this one, which has been a crazy design challenge. And I don't know if you can see here. It's like a, turn on. It's like a percussion device. Anyway, so it mounts onto the original mount as well. So and then we're working on some rollers that vibrate, and also this cream applicating system that will help people put external analgesics on their hard to reach places of their body. and hopefully that will be a first source of reoccurring revenue for our business. So we're excited about this project's coming up, and it's been tough working on like hardcore engineering projects in China when you're translating to the engineering team. It's pretty funny. It's doable, but you got to be patient. So yeah, and that's the reason why we did Dragon's Den. And it wasn't my first crack at doing Dragon's Den. I actually had auditioned for it 3 times. The first time I was too early staged. We just had a prototype. The second time, same thing. We were on our way to manufacturing, but we still didn't have any sales. And then finally, the third time we got on. So here's our. This is in the CBC, like behind the Dragon's Den studio, where we brought this little wall. We drove it down, and we had a bunch of prototypes set up on it, and the original product there. And we actually used this. We used a cell phone to demonstrate, how many different kinds of attachments could go on this thing. We were just kind of being goofy with it, and the cell phone was streaming a live video of Aaron, the guy who was presenting with me. It was streaming a live video to the judges on the jumbotron right next to us. So that was pretty neat. So we ended up getting a deal for $420,000 in exchange for 16.3%. It's funny, we've been trying to close the deal for a while, and my hope, fingers crossed, is that it will close by Friday. But these things take longer than you think they will out of the gate. But it's been a pretty cool experience. I've learned a lot about legal documents, and it's just all a part of the long list of learnings that you get from doing this sort of thing.
Number one rule: get yourself a really good lawyer when you come into business.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And minimize the amount of emails you can send to them, because they charge for emails
per email. Exactly. I got another question here, Curtis, for you from Avin again, which says, when did you decide to pursue this full time instead of working or joining the workforce? Was it hard choosing between both options? I was in engineering. I knew right out of the gate that I wasn't good at it. Like, I'm good at it from a perspective of thinking about design, and I love the design projects. I was definitely a big contributor in all my design projects, but in terms of banging out calculus 4 questions or whatever it was, I was slower than the average bear. And so, I found a lot of times I wasn't finishing tests, and that kind of led me to believe that if I'm the slowest at tests and I'm, at the bottom tier of the class, then I'm likely going to be less valuable as like a engineer. So I figured, why not start a business, not go with the herd, try to do something else. I knew I was a smart guy, but in my own way. And once I got going on it, my first project I actually worked on was an oral hygiene device, which is, thinking back to it, was just a horrible idea, but horrible. I tried to license it to Procter & Gamble. They didn't want anything to do with it. So, but learning lesson nonetheless. Anyway, I think once I got involved with TME, and especially got accepted to the UNB Summer Institute, where it was like 3 months of time to be paid to work on your dream. It was like, when is there ever going to be another opportunity to do something like this in my life? And so I went through the Summer Institute. I was really dedicated to it, and I had my mind set on making it happen. And right from there, having all the support that I had and the network that I built, and all the people that just filled me up with belief that this was something that I could do, and something that everyone could help with. It really gave me the confidence to move forward and really pursue it. So I think it was probably
the winter semester after that year of going to the Summer Institute that I decided to pursue it fully. And luckily, the dominoes kind of all fell into place at one time. The product development finished, the financing came together, and the manufacturing stuff was getting sorted out. So it was really, it was really lucky the way it all worked out. It just I think it all comes down to working with great people and having support of the awesome dudes at UNB, and really just being surrounded by a group of people that want to see you succeed in every way possible. So
absolutely. And honestly, Curtis, it's been amazing, like working with you and watching some of the stuff you've been doing, and even you giving back to the Summer Institute, and like giving your time to help some of the entrepreneurs coming through the program. And I'm going to shamelessly plug right now for a moment, because Summer Institute is recruiting right now. And if you are interested in being part of the Summer Institute, please go to summerinst.com. Let me see if I can bring that up right there. And there's also an information session coming up on February 11th as well. So in 2 days, and you can get the information from the Summer Institute Facebook page or the Summer Institute website as well. So again, shameless promotion because you just brought it up. So I thought I would put that in there.
You got to do the Summer Institute. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So if you guys are feeling up to the challenge, I'd highly recommend you do it. It's really awesome. So Dragon's Den was pretty wild. I learned a lot about myself going through that experience. I never thought we were going to raise financing. I figured that we'd bootstrap it the whole way and use debt financing and build up the company on our own. Not that I wanted to hold on to any significant portion of ownership. Just I felt that the things had kind of lined up for it to be possible, and easiest way forward might have not to have been getting things approved by the board of directors. But I'm really excited in the direction we're going now. It's going to be cool to have people around me that actually have some insight and experience, because like every day it just feels like I'm just guessing at everything. Like I really don't know what I'm doing. And it's kind of funny as a starting.
Don't admit it. Don't admit it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's you really don't know what you're doing at any point in time. I mean, you get a hang of it, as you go, but you just really, of all the things you've read, all the things you've heard, all the insight you've taken from mentors, you're kind of summing that up and building your best gut feeling possible to make the decisions that you have to make. And you can't spend too much time on decisions because it'll slow you down, and likely your choice would have been wrong anyway. So you just gotta try to do your best with what you know, and mitigate risk in any way you can, and just go with the flow, I guess. So you never really know where it's going to go. And so it's like going to Dragon's Den. I never pictured myself doing that. But biggest takeaways would be definitely practice talking in front of cameras and lights. I don't like cameras and high pressure, whatever. And the whole setup of the whole thing is quite stressful. They'll like get you to walk in and say, hey, present yourself, and then stand there, and then walk back out, and then walk back in, and then present yourself and give your pitch. And you don't know that going in. It's just like, oh, you're caught off guard by it. But anyway, for me, as someone who's put everything I've ever had into this, so much money on the line, all of my effort for the past 3 years has gone into this, and to put it up for a TV show was a quite stressful thing for me to do, because I've seen a lot of episodes where even if it's just wrong valuation, the whole thing goes sour. So it was pretty stressful. I was looking back at it. I probably only ever watched it once. It was pretty cringeworthy for me, but so you're in there 40-60 minutes. Try to stay relaxed. Really craft your story. Give them something to go with, and know your numbers, and know that your numbers are good. there's specific numbers you can leave out if they aren't like your key numbers. Really focus on the numbers that you need and the numbers that are good, and try to make it a fluid story and avoid conflict at all costs. And I think the biggest point of conflict in that show comes from arguments over valuation. So a lot of people will go in and give themselves a valuation that's 2 to 3x multiple of their revenue. Mm-hmm. That can only be justified if you have 2 to 3 years of sales to go along and show what your growth has been so far, and can it be deemed justifiable that you'll grow another this amount this year. So keep, if you're ever going to do it, keep it low key, go there for the experience, and just try to make it fun, and try not to get into too many arguments. It's pretty interesting. I'll just finish up quick here. Our plans moving forward. We've changed the name of our corporation to SimBody Labs Ltd. We're trying to become a company that does more than just personal muscle care devices. We're working on a variety of fitness products and wearables. And I'll just show you one of the extensions sort of that we're working towards for Vertiball here. So everyone's got a cell phone, everyone's got a back, and there's lots of key data points that can be very useful. And so the cool thing about Vertiball is that once it's fixed on the wall, your phone can calibrate its position relative to it. And that means that the motion of your body and the key points can be tracked relative to the calibrated motion of the product on the wall. So our goal moving forward, and we're just getting going with this project, and we're really excited about it, is to create this system that acts as a software extension to the product and creates a value add that can really make it so that if someone's given a at-home workout by a chiropractor or physiotherapist, that they can know it's actually be done correctly, and results can be tracked, measured, and repeated with certainty, rather than changes to exercises being made because 58-year-old Barbara was rolling around on the ground on her golf ball incorrectly. So ultimately, we want to create this online dashboard where clinicians can connect with people that have back pain, and run these sessions online and use our tools to assist with personal care routines. And that's just a little bit where we're going. And that's it for me. I hope I don't know how long it was. It felt like a decent.
No, that's been great, Curtis. Actually, we are running out of time. I do have to wrap up right now. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, Curtis, for joining us and sharing your experiences. There are a couple questions here that we didn't get to ask, so I will pass them on to you offside, and we can make sure we get those answers to people who have been asking. So thank you all for tuning in to the RBC Lunch and Learn series hosted by the J. Herbert Smith Center. I hope today's show was really helpful for you on your entrepreneurship journey. And if you have any questions outside of the ones that were already posted about Curtis's experiences or any of the programs, including the Summer Institute or the upcoming student pitch competition coming up on March 24th, feel free to send us a message on Facebook or email us at tme@unb.ca. So make sure to check out Vertiball at vertiball.com, although it sounds like you guys are going through a rebrand too. So keep an eye out for the new website whenever that pops up, and we'll make sure to post about that ourselves as well. So next week we have Apostle Radov, CEO of Solar Steam, a green tech company, joining us all the way from Alberta. So tune in next week to hear from Apostle. He's an alumnus of our other accelerator program, Energy Adventures, about the amazing technology that his team is creating to help reduce the energy usage of major producers. Curtis, I just want to say thank you again one more time, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Jade. Always a pleasure. And thanks everybody for listening, and best of luck with all your entrepreneurship journeys that are coming ahead.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us.